pick up your phone and film. It's never going to be perfect. You don't need a studio set. You might want to invest in a ring light, or worst case, just face the window and have natural light on your face, but just capture it. Just capture it in the moment. Because if the information's good, people won't care about how it looks and the production value.
Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, the podcast for women who want to build incredible mental strength to level up their business and lifestyle. I'm Renee Warren, the founder of We Wild Women, author, speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and your host. Together, we will make you unapologetic about shining your light, growing your business, and turning you into a wildly confident and successful leader. This is for you, the visionary, the go-getter, the entrepreneur, and for those that need a real kick in the butt to get going and to dream bigger. Each week, I bring in leading experts and entrepreneurs to help you take leaps in the right direction, because I know the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before. So, are you ready to level up? Welcome to Into the Wild. My next guest is a marketing coach who specializes in helping not so Insta-famous business people make real revenue directly from social media. She's helped over 30,000 people truly grow their businesses, sell more programs, and build money-making brands. She's been featured for her expertise in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Digital Marketer, and Social Media Examiner. In this episode, Elise and I discuss not only the why behind the importance of creating social video content, but we also touch on the how and highlight how she stays consistent with content creation and engagement. Please welcome the lovely Elise Darma.
Thanks, Renee. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we were just figuring out kind of the connection point of how we first heard about each other. And it was, 10 years ago, probably?
I think so, because I worked in the tech space in Toronto before I started my business, starting in 2010. And I knew of Dan Martell. I must have met him or yourself at tech events and have followed you guys since then. So here we are.
What company were you working at?
I worked for the university, Ryerson University, which has since been renamed, but they had a incubator for tech startups in the university. And I think Dan was an advisor or an investor or something along those lines. And so I worked on the marketing team for the incubator. And that's how I got my first client and was able to branch out and start my own agency after that.
Amazing. So when did you start the agency?
Good question. I got my first client in 2013 and then I quit mid-2014. That's when I started my agency full time and just flew to Bali soon after that and lived out my digital nomad dreams because that was my whole intention behind it.
Yeah, and you're not even in Canada right now. So you're still living the dream.
That's right. We're a bit more permanent now. We, as in me and my fiance, were in Spain and Barcelona specifically. And it was really interesting 2020. We were living in Toronto at the time, great city life. And then the lockdown happened. And within 2 months, we were like, we're not staying here. This is not worth it to be in a city that's locked down. So that summer we traveled to Europe because Canadians were allowed to travel Europe for whatever reason. We did 6 weeks in Europe in 2020. It was dead. It was incredible. We went to Venice and no one was next to me on the bridges. It was wild. And then after we came home from that trip, we're moving to Mexico. So we packed up, sold the apartment, moved to Mexico for 6 months that winter. That was amazing as well. And then came back to Canada in 2021 and then just got our ducks in a row to move to Spain. So we've been here for a year now and it's been quite the adventure. Really fun though.
I love it. Yeah, we got our butts out of New Brunswick. Same reason.
Yeah.
It was just like the lockdowns and not lockdowns and the crazy rules that weren't applicable to everybody. We're like, this doesn't make sense. We were supposed to move to San Diego, but then we couldn't even leave our own country. So we decided Kelowna was the best option.
Wow.
And here we are.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I knew a few people from Ontario who moved to Victoria. They just wanted to get to the West Coast and, try a new pace of life. So in a way, COVID was a really good catalyst and motivator to change things up. So we don't have any regrets.
Exactly. I feel like it's kind of like it was this thing that forced you to really look at how you're living your life. And a lot of people quit their jobs or started businesses or moved, and they're still doing what they're doing because this is what they've been always like, they've been dreaming of following these new life principles and lifestyles. And it's awesome to see people doing that and just living wherever. Like Spain's pretty cool. People like to eat dinner at 10 p.m.
Yeah, you have to get used to late nights. And we're just super, super lucky, of course. I was able to get an EU passport through my family. And then my fiance was able to get a visa to be able to live here. And we're just up for the adventure right now. I don't know what's going to happen a year or two from now, but our Spanish is still really bad. We're working on that, but it's just been so cool to be in this part of the world. The proximity to other countries is wild. When you're from Canada and you're used to a 5-hour flight to not even cross the whole country, just most of it. And then you live in Barcelona and you can jump on a 30-minute flight or a 2-hour flight and be in Morocco or Germany or France or Italy. It's just mind blowing. That's the big thing that we just can't get over still.
I know. And the fact that you can go across certain countries and you don't even have to show your passport.
Yeah, exactly.
That was mind blowing for us when we went from Spain and drove into Portugal. We got our passports out, ready for like the stop at the highway. And all of a sudden now it's like things were in Portuguese. We're like, oh, we're in another country and nothing changed.
Yeah, it's wild.
It is. I love it though. Okay. So I'd love to know, what was one of the toughest moments you had to face as an entrepreneur?
I like this question. And, I started my business full-time in 2014, and it was mostly to fund my lifestyle. I wanted to travel. Bali was a big part of that. Australia, Hawaii, it was great. I wasn't necessarily making more money. I was just funding my lifestyle. And so in 2016, I decided I wanted to hit my financial goals. I wanted financial freedom, not just independence to be wherever. And so that's what inspired me to start a personal brand, the Elise Darma brand. So I wasn't hiding behind my agency brand any longer. And it did help my business grow. Like I had my first 6-figure year once I developed a personal brand, started making digital products and courses. It was great. But I remember in 2019, I felt like my whole business was just static. Like I felt like I hadn't grown in a good 18 months. I felt like my Instagram was static. And here I was promoting myself as an Instagram marketer, an Instagram educator. Like I really started to feel like a fake, like an imposter. And I know that's something you talk about a lot, but it was really real then because I had grown my account as a kind of like a travel influencer. I took my travel photos and stories, shared them, and I grew like 30,000 followers one summer. And then when I started to switch to talking to business owners, it was just like, wah, wah. Like I couldn't grow anymore. I didn't know how to show up anymore. All the photos of me twirling in Bali, they didn't seem as relevant. And I was stuck. And I remember the summer of 2019 riding my bike around Toronto, and it was the summer. And I was like, oh, the season is so nice. Like, this is why we put up with winters to get to this point. And then I started thinking about the seasons that my business had been going through. And I felt like I was in this really stuck season. And then I thought, maybe I'm just doing things that aren't in line with what my business really needs. Like I'm like trying to put this square through a hole kind of feeling. And I'd have those conversations with my then boyfriend about what it would look like to quit, to go back to having a job. And my toes curled. I was like, I just can't do it. But I also feel like I'm failing. Like our months, I felt like we're paycheck to paycheck. Every time a new month would roll around and our revenue would go down to zero, I'd be like, okay, I know I have to make at least $8,000 to cover my expenses. Like, let's go. Okay, we're at 10,000. Whew, I can pay myself. It was literally that feeling for many years. That's
like dread.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like having a paycheck, but like every month is not guaranteed like a paycheck. There were definitely some months that we were in the red. I remember one month I hosted a retreat in Bali. Was it in Bali? Yes. And I was so focused on hosting this retreat that we barely made $10,000 that month. And I was definitely in the negative. And then meanwhile, I forgot to cancel a hotel booking and they charged $6,000 to my credit card. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm just doing something wrong. So after that experience, then fast forward to the summer of Toronto, and I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? Like, should I be doing this? Should I stick with it? And when my boyfriend played devil's advocate, and I just thought, I can't give up right now. I have to keep trying whatever's left in my toolbox, whatever ideas I have to keep going. And there had been an idea that I was sitting on. I just didn't act on it because I thought it had been done already. I thought there were enough people out there doing it. And finally, that fall, I got over myself and I started building and working on that idea. And the idea was just a small digital product, something that wasn't a $600 course, because that's what I was selling at the time. It was I wanted to sell a $27 product. So I surveyed my audience. I literally in the survey outlined what the product was going to be. The response was overwhelmingly yes. I came up with 365 ideas for your Instagram stories, all divided by business seasons. So it was inspired by that moment I had in that summer. And I created business seasons to be, a season of visibility, a season of engagement, a season of lead generation, and a season of sales. So I kind of made those up. But it gave me a structure for this product. And I released these 365 ideas divided by those seasons. And I had the craziest month of sales ever. Like it was December, the worst time to release a product. I just got it out there. And I remember my phone was just like ding, 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 ding. And I was like, okay, it's a good launch. But then it didn't stop. Like it continued all throughout Christmas, New Year's, January. And releasing that product like changed the trajectory of my business.
Crazy.
And I almost didn't do it. So
this was the $20 product?
Yeah, it was $20 or $27 when I released it. And it was like something that my audience could finally grasp onto. Because for the years prior, I was trying to sell a $600 course and not everyone's ready to invest that much money with you when you're just someone on the internet, right? And so I released something super high value and super low cost. Suddenly my, whatever it was, 40,000, 50,000 subscribers were buying. And it was very enlightening and very game-changing. So that was a tough moment, but when I look back, I think, wow, I'm so glad I did not give up.
Yeah, well, I'm fresh off the heels of Date with Destiny. Tony Robbins would say that everything you experienced prior to that moment was by design. You'd say you needed to do that to create that thing, because if you hadn't potentially failed at your Bali retreat and doing all those other things, you wouldn't have come up with this brilliant idea.
It's true. Even the seasons idea of being in the summer in Toronto, I carried that idea into the product itself. And I leveraged that idea for a long time. So I can absolutely see how those dots align now, looking back, of course.
Wow. I love it. So I wonder if we all have these $27 ideas. I'm sure we do.
I think so. Yeah. Sometimes they're buried in your business. It's like a template or some resource that you use all the time. And if you package it nicely, it could be of high value for your audience. But that's probably another conversation for another time.
Yeah. And there's so much that leads up to that too, like right time, right offer, right time of the year, even though you say it's not, but maybe it was like, because no one else was marketing, because no one markets in December. You're like, I'm still doing this, but also right time in like the grand scheme of things when it came to social media too. Right. So what year was that?
That was the end of 2019. And the product I released was called Story Vault. So then that evolved.
I know this. Wait, yeah. I feel like I bought this.
Oh, you might.
I think I did. I totally did.
That's funny. It evolved to be 800 ideas for your stories. So when you're looking at that, you're like 800 ideas for $27. Of course. I think now it's 37. And that product just spawned another product. After that, I decided to create Caption Vault, which was 300 caption templates. And then after that, I decided to create Videos Vault, which at the time, it wasn't that common to give people video ideas for their business, but that was the concept of that product. I gave you 300 video ideas for your coaching business, your service business, and your product business. Now I see this concept like over and over again in every niche. But at the time when I released it in 2020, it was really novel. So I think you're right. Timing was really, really key for my products.
I'm totally looking in my email right now to see But I'm like, why does this sound so familiar?
It has been our most popular vault to date, has over 30,000 members now, which is cool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've obviously been subscribed to you since at least 2020, at least.
That's probably when I was an ad in your feed for Story Vault.
You were definitely an ad. That's what it is. Now you're in real life. Look at this.
Yeah. We ran a lot of ads, so I believe it.
That's so cool. No, and you're doing an amazing job, and just how you show up. You add humor to like education and how-tos. I absolutely love it. So really quickly, because I know people are probably curious, what is your Instagram handle? And is it the same TikTok?
It is. Yeah. I'm Elise Darma across the board. So ELISE and then DARMA. Elise Darma.
Go check her out. She's got some really awesome stuff. I love it. Okay. Love to know. What is one of your favorite quotes?
So I actually got this quote made on a mug for my course students, and it's very simple. And the quote is, do less, better. And that's it. Because I think we all have a tendency, I know I do, to complicate things, especially if you're approaching it from that point of, feast or famine, or a little bit of scarcity mindset like I was in 2019. I was really scared just trying to pay my bills every month. And it put me in this tailspin. Let me try this. Let me launch this. Let me try that. And it wasn't really, none of it was really intentional, didn't have like research behind it. It was just a little desperate. So now I can't say I perfected this, but I like the idea of doing less better.
100%. It's in total relevancy so I just finished my first ever CrossFit competition. I crushed it. I came third. Never expected this.
Congrats.
Then I realized where my deficit is. And I now am going to go do Olympic weightlifting, which seems like a contrast to CrossFit. But what it does, it targets specifically like doing less, because CrossFit's like all of this, but doing less, very specific movements to gain strength in those areas. Because if you think about like, what's the foundational thing you need to be successful at CrossFit? It's probably like pull-ups and, heavy deadlifts. So you focus on that, you end up becoming a better athlete. And also to that point is doing less is people tend to be busy thinking busy is progress, right? So if we get like a little capacity in our calendar, we're like, oh, what new project can we start? Or like, how can I offer help to somebody else without actually honing in on the things that you should be focusing on?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because if you're not busy, then you're forced to sit with yourself and ask yourself some uncomfortable questions. And I'm definitely guilty of that too. But that's really, really cool. I like the idea that to improve in one sport, you're going to get hyper-focused through another one.
And it's just one movement, like Steph Curry, right? He shoots 1,000 basketballs a day or something. And now he can do 3-pointers from across the court with one hand. And he knows if the ball is going in the net after it's released from his hand. And it's because he shows up every day and he throws 1,000 basketballs. Right.
Yeah.
And it's one thing. I mean, there's so many other things in basketball you can learn to be a better athlete, but he's just focusing on that one thing. And he's like best shooter in the league.
So cool. That's so
right.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. So let's get into the stuff that I know people are waiting, especially me, to hear the tips about creating these darn videos. I will say sometimes I create mine and I'm like, man, that was so good. I am so funny. And I'll get like 200 people that, right. And then I did one video maybe a year ago and it was all right. But I talked about how I was sued for wrongful dismissal. And then all of a sudden it just like catapulted into like 250,000 views. And I'm like, wow, I guess people like to know my story about getting sued. But it's so weird because the stuff that I put the most time into gets the least amount of likes, and the stuff that's just right. But I know it's all by design. There's something you're doing it really, really well. But I'd love to know. So TikTok and Reels, are they worth the time and effort as a business owner to promote yourself? And especially if you're somebody that doesn't like to dance or do anything funny or really intimidated by being on camera.
I'm looking at your Reels right now, and I don't get the sense that you're intimidated being on camera. Do you have a bit of a performer streak in you? Like, do you like the performance aspect?
I don't mind doing it. I actually love it. I just forget. And then I'm like, oh, I don't have time to do it. And I also
Yeah.
lose that inspiration. Like, what do I do today? And then all of a sudden I'll get all these downloads and then I don't do anything because there's just too much. And I want to get to that question about cadence too, because I know creating that schedule is really how you're going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
But how does it help people in their business?
Well, it's just the number one connection point right now. Like, we know the stats. We know that there's 1 billion users on Instagram. There's 1 billion users on TikTok. We know that all social media apps are copying TikTok features more and more because, well, it's short form video entertainment and we all have short attention spans. And these videos really capture us more than stories, even more than static posts. And by stories, I mean stories on Instagram. So we know the data is there, but more than that, I've just seen time and time again, businesses accelerate their growth in the last 2 years by posting 10, 15-second videos way faster than I've seen in my 10 years of doing social media marketing. I think the opportunity that's been short form video, we haven't had this since like when Instagram launched and people were able to grow quite quickly. I remember my first client in 2013, we hit 100,000 followers using influencers and like we were able to grow really fast. And that was just because it was so new and there were so few people. Short form video marketing has given businesses that same opportunity. I remember in April of 2020, was it 2021? I got a message from a woman named Sade. And she said, "Hey, Elise, I saw your videos on YouTube about Instagram and TikTok. And I finally tried TikTok and my video has 40,000 views already. Can you believe it?" I said, "That's amazing. Keep going." She kept going. The woman now has 1.5 million followers on TikTok and she's an amazing speaker and she gives career tips and you've probably seen her in your feed. And it just goes to show, like, she started in 2020 and 2 years later, she's got over 1 million followers and a booming business because of that exposure. And so as much as I know social media is not the priority for business owners, it's not even my priority. And I'm an Instagram marketer. You know, when you have fires going on, team member issues, bills to pay, funnels that are broken, ads that aren't working, there's so many things that are going to draw your attention away. But when I remind myself the power of taking a minute, like you said, the fast videos, the quick ones tend to do really well. But when you have that inspiration hit, don't put it aside, film it. Even if you have no makeup on, you have your gym clothes on, people don't care. I've posted those videos and they've done better than my, high production videos. And that's also classic. But just remembering to capture that thought, capture that moment and post it, that's what's resonating with people today. It's not perfect. It's not high production value. It's just like raw and real. And I think I was looking at your profile earlier, Renee, and it's the stories that really capture people. Yeah. Like you said, people were interested in that story you shared about being sued. It's not only juicy and interesting and it doesn't happen to the average person, but it's the stories. And I was looking at your video of you bringing the puppy home with your boys.
Oh my God, I know.
And yeah, I saw it as a carousel post initially. And then I was like, no, she needs to post this as a reel. And you've done it as a reel, but it's like
my husband did that.
Yeah, it needs to be its own video. And I can see it has over 20,000 views already. And it's just really good, feel-good content. There's so many accounts out there that are just posting feel-good content. Like when your one son started crying, I was like, oh my God, I can feel that. And that's what gets through the screen to other people is those stories that make someone feel something. So I know I'm covering a lot right now, but at the end of the day, when you're a business owner, and you're looking at social media like, oh, it's so exhausting. Like I have to follow a formula. I have to follow this trend. I have to dance. And believe me, I'm speaking, this is how I feel about it too. I don't want to do those things, but I do want to show up and share interesting stories that I've seen, that I've experienced, that I've heard. And I think that's my best way to connect with my audience. That's at least how I feel now at the end of 2022, now that we've had short form video for a good 2 years. So it's evolving. It's never going to be the same, but it is just such an easy way for you to take this device that has the world on the other end of it and share a piece of yourself, share a story, make someone on the other side feel something. And their connection to you is going to be way deeper than just like any other email subscriber on your list. So I believe that's the power.
Because people buy from those they know, like, and trust. Because like people are probably thinking, well, how does this puppy video have anything to do with business? Right. But, they love the story behind that. And by the way, puppies convert. They have like the most likes ever because of our puppy.
Exactly. Well, it's just like connecting human to human. People do business with people, right? And so by you allowing us to get an inside look at your family life, at your sons, at the puppy in your life, it's just like, it's one more connection point. I'm going to remember this video when I bring a puppy home and surprise my fiance,
No, don't do that. It's not a good idea. Puppies are
not ready for that.
Yeah. No. It's like having a child, except you can't put a diaper on it.
Right, exactly. Or I watched your breakfast recipe video because for whatever reason, I'm really into making things from social media. I literally made a salmon plate last week from a viral TikTok video. And now that I'm looking at how simple your breakfast is, because I already know, like, and trust you. I saw your profile. I saw the boys. I felt something with the puppy. And now I'm looking at your other content. I'm like, oh, that looks like a really simple, easy breakfast. Now it's in my brain and I'm going to try it. Like, this is just how it starts. You're in my brain.
I actually made these really yummy cinnamon bread muffins from Reels. I was like, because the woman took like 30 seconds to dissect this recipe. And in 30 seconds, it was in my brain and I did it. And it was so yummy. Yeah. I don't remember who she was, but anyways, it was yummy. Okay. So then what are examples of high engagement videos entrepreneurs can make to promote their business? So we talked about the personal stuff, but we also need to show the credibility in what we do.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so when TikTok really blew up in 2020 and then Reels came along in 2020, it was all about trends. It was all about taking a trending audio, taking a trending dance and doing it and trying to add your own spin to it. I would say where we're at now, I don't know if trends are as impactful or important to prioritize. They can be fun for sure and sometimes quick and easy. But what I'm seeing people do really well with right now are just talking head videos. So, still keeping your point tight and succinct, opening up with a hook that calls out your target audience or at least captures their curiosity and interests them. So the first sentence is usually a hook, like three reasons why your newborn's not sleeping at night, right? Obviously, I'm talking to parents of newborns, but that's going to capture their attention. After that first sentence, you might want to do one sentence that's kind of that authority piece. Hey, I'm Renee and I'm an expert in newborn sleeps. I've helped 1,000 families, something like that. And then you go into the 3 tips or the 3 reasons why, keep them really short and succinct. And then a quick call to action at the end, like share this post if you found it helpful or share this with a new parent, something like that. That's generally the flow of a talking head tip. And I find that if it's high value and good information, people will watch it, they'll share it, they'll save it, they'll do all the good things. And probably because of the space I'm in the education space, but those videos still perform the best for me. So talking head tips are still doing well for businesses. And if you're not really in that tip or education space, you can think of it as a story. Just like we talked about, sharing stories, your story can still open up with an interesting hook. You'll never believe what happened today at the supermarket. Or I could do something along the lines of, I can't believe grocery stores in Barcelona have this, something like that, Yeah. And share your story. So I just think that social media, it's becoming very the same. And the one thing that will always differentiate us and the one thing us humans will always resonate with is storytelling. So that's kind of my soapbox that I'm on right now. So talking head tips is really doing well. Creating your own original audio. Have you tried doing that before? Creating an audio that other people can use for their videos?
No, I think I did the voiceover of my morning breakfast is the only thing that I did.
Yeah. So I guess anytime you do a voiceover or you talk on camera, that is creating your own original audio. But one trend I've seen just over the last few months is you creating a clip, then encouraging your audience to use that audio for their video. So it could be something like, I have one video where I'm tapping my head 3 times with my boxing glove and I go tap, tap, tap. If only more people understood this. And that's the audio. Yeah. It's like I made my own 8-second audio. I encouraged my audience to also open up with a tap, tap, tap. They could use anything they wanted. They could mouth, the words if only more people understood this. And then on screen with text, they would put the myth or misconception that their audience doesn't understand. And that's as simple. It's that simple and that hard, because it's hard for the audios to get traction. But I noticed that Instagram was really pushing them out. So for example, we're looking at making original audios for the new year. And it could be as simple as, for 2023, my word of the year is, and then you stay silent and then let the person put the word up on screen. So that's something that you can think about when you're looking at, okay, what's something that would make sense for my audience to share? Make it easy for them to make videos. That's kind of the idea there. Yeah. So that's what's working currently as well. Another easy thing to do, and this is just part of being a content creator entrepreneur, is having equipment around like this. This is my tripod, my Joby tripod, and there's a smartphone holder up here. It's on my desk at all times, because sometimes I'll just put my phone on it and film myself working. I might film myself when I'm boxing. Maybe it's in real time or in time lapse, but it's just good, what we call B-roll, B-roll that you can use anytime you don't want to show up on camera. Just go through one of those clips that you've already recorded, bring it up into a reel, and just add text on screen. Add text on screen. Like, I remember we were traveling to a local city called Girona. So my fiance filmed me walking in front of a big church. So there's a lot of blank space. And I just pulled that clip up and I said, I did a headline at the top of the video and I said, 4 types of videos that are working right now for business. And then I just plopped 4 blurbs of text over my video. And it's one of my better performing videos as of late. It's just that easy.
Convert.
Exactly.
Puppies convert. Churches convert.
Churches convert. Exactly. So it can be that simple. You just have to remember to capture those B-roll moments of your life. Yeah. But that's, the more you can build up that library, the more you can just tap into it when you're, wanting to get some information out there, but not necessarily wanting to show up on camera. What else is working is when you're scrolling the Reels feed, you'll see this little template button. Yeah. And that's a built-in feature of Instagram. I'm finding that it's really, really easy to make Reels when you hit that template button. It will encourage you to load in your own media, and then it will help you recreate a Reel just like the one that you saw in your feed. So that's like a quick hack if you, again, have your B-roll and you just want to make something really quickly. Yeah, so I'd say that's what I'm seeing work today for the business owners who don't want to be dancing or doing anything that makes them feel silly.
How important is the caption?
Before Reels, the caption was really important to keep someone on your post longer. But now the caption's it's buried, right? Because the Reel takes up the majority of your screen. And so with a caption, you only see the first line. Someone has to go to your feed to read your caption in full, or they have to tap to see more. But then your caption appears over your Reel. And sometimes if your Reel is busy, you won't be able to read it properly. So all that to say, if you are going to share good information in your caption that's in support of the information in your Reel, make sure you have a really good first line of your caption. And I like to share something like 3 reasons why this works. And then I'll do a hand pointing emoji so that people know they need to read the rest of the caption to understand the 3 reasons. So I put the most effort into that first line of my caption to encourage someone to read the rest of it.
Holy smokes. Elise sure knows what she's talking about. Hope you're taking notes like I am. And I will say, everything that she's explaining to us with regards to growing our social media following and creating content that's relevant to our audience and who we're serving and what it is that we're selling is so important, especially when it comes to getting the attention of the media. It doesn't seem to go hand in hand, but it really does. So when I ran my PR agency, we had this thing called a PR engine, which I still do today. And it's where social media, content marketing, and traditional PR meet, because that's really the engine behind creating a bigger impact and getting more exposure for your brand and yourself and your business. And this is why I wanted to bring Elise on, because she knows what she's talking about. Look at her growth and the content that she's creating, the programs that she's put together to help her customers. Whenever I work with somebody to do their PR, one of the things we start with, the foundation, is to make sure that they have some sort of exposure online already. Because when the media does come knocking, or if you hire somebody like me to help you pitch, to get on podcasts, to get in the media, to get on radio, TV, they're going to look at who you are and how you show up online. And so if you don't have a decent presence, you'll get more no's than yeses. So a whole part of creating an impact and getting media coverage has to do with showing up consistently where you are online, whether that's TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat or LinkedIn, you name it, whatever works for you and your business. Make sure it's consistent. And what Elise is saying is video is going to rule the day. We know that. We know that TikTok is blowing up brands. We know that Reels is helping people get more engagement. So I definitely help with the strategy and how to create the content you need so that when we do start pitching, you'll get more yeses. But tune in to what Elise is saying. And also go check out my program, Sidelines to Headlines, where I work with you and I do the work for you to get you the media coverage you deserve. Go to wewildwomen.com/sidelines to headlines to check it out. That's wewildwomen.com/sidelines to headlines. See you there. So last question about creating videos, because we know this is important. What's the trick to getting started? But maybe more importantly is what's the trick to staying consistent?
Mm-hmm. Well, like you said, those moments of inspiration hit, right? You're scrolling and you're like, oh, I know how I can make this work for my business. Or you're doing something in your life and you're like, oh, that's a really good thought. I should share that. So getting started is simply just acting on those urges, like pick up your phone and film. It's never going to be perfect. You don't need a studio set. You might want to invest in a ring light, or worst case, just face the window and have natural light on your face, but just capture it. Just capture it in the moment. Because if the information's good, people won't care about how it looks and the production value. And then in terms of staying consistent, well, there's tons of systems out there. You have to find the system that works for you. So in my business, we actually create weekly ideas, weekly prompts for business owners. We send them to their inbox every Wednesday so they can film and they have, next week's ideas ready to go. And with those ideas, we also give them a way to plan out their filming in a project management tool. So I'm a big fan of Asana, and it's free currently. And you could do this with another tool like Trello, but basically create a digital planning tool and create multiple columns. Okay. And this is how I stay consistent. Every time I have a new idea for a video, I create a new card and I drop it in what we call the ideas column. So we never lose an idea. And by we, I mean my team members and I. We all have access to this project management tool. Any one of us gets an idea, we drop it into that first column. Then when I'm preparing to batch film, that's how I like to do it. I block 2 hours in my calendar every single week. And that's when I'll try to film 5 to 10 videos at a time. So before I get to that stage, I'm going to look at our whole ideas list and I'm going to go through them and I'm going to either approve them or tweak them so that I feel comfortable filming what the idea is. And then I'm going to move them to a new column over. So this is very visual to describe. If you've seen a project management tool with columns, you know what I mean. You're going to take that card from the idea column and you're going to move it to the to create column. So then when my batch filming day rolls around, which is generally every Thursday at 2:00, I just go to that to create column. All the ideas are ready to go. They've been approved by me and I just film them. I just get through them as quickly as I can. I try to do things in one take. If it's a more complicated thing, I'll give myself up to 3 takes, but just I'm a perfectionist, so I'm trying to work myself out of that. That doesn't need to be perfect. And then once every video is saved as a draft in my app, I'll move that card of all those video ideas to another column, one more over, and we call that the to edit column. So I didn't edit those videos as I filmed them. I just filmed them one at a time, saved them as a draft, and then that was it. At a later time, I will sit down and I'll edit them all. Once they've been edited, I'll move that card to another column, which is called to post. So they're all ready to be posted. At that time, if I have a copywriter, I might have them pop in, look at my draft. Maybe they'll write a caption for me. Maybe I'll write the caption. And then I just go ahead and post them. I go into my phone in my drafts where it's been saved, it's been edited. I paste my caption in, and then I hit post. And then I check the card off and it feels good. And then I just keep going through the rest of them that are already ready to go. So that's what we use. We use ideas, prompts, and then a project management tool to keep the flow of ideas moving along.
So for the drafts, do you save them to your phone too? Or are they just saved in like TikTok or in Instagram?
It's a good question. I fortunately have never experienced a glitch where I lost my drafts, but some people have.
I have.
So if you can, if you can, save a draft to your camera roll just as backup. If you're creating something with your own original audio on Instagram, you'll be able to save a draft. If you're using someone else's audio, Instagram will let you save a copy without the audio, but it's still better to save a copy because if you do lose that draft, you just upload your video and then reattach that audio wherever it came from. Better safe than sorry.
And so how many hours a week are you creating this content? So you have Thursdays. How much time do you give yourself?
I just do a 2-hour block. So generally I can do everything in an hour, but I give myself a 2-hour block. Sometimes you need some time to get ready. Sometimes I mix up my outfits. Sometimes I want to wear a costume to drive my point home, that sort of thing. But I give myself a 2-hour block, and then that's just on Thursdays. Other days during the week is when myself and my team are collecting the ideas, adapting them to my business, my niche, and just, that's kind of the planning portion. And then the rest of the week is editing and posting them.
I love it. It seems so simple. And I feel like a lot of people are like, yeah, I can do this. And they'll do it for a couple of weeks and then life again. And I know the algorithm and the tips and stuff, they change all the time. It's annoying. But do you have any last tips business-wise and how people can leverage these tools?
I would say that it can be annoying, definitely, when things change. Like right now, I'd say a lot of accounts are experiencing a lower reach than normal. I'm seeing it with my account. Just know that we're all in the same boat. If you're experiencing it with your account, you're not special. We're all seeing it. And just to keep going, because the truth is today, in today's modern age, it's just the easiest time to run and grow a business with the tools that we have. Like even when I started in 2013, we just did not have this level of like optionality with software, with tools, with platforms, with automation. Like it is so easy to actually create content and make sales in retrospect, right?
Yeah. And for it to look okay too. I remember starting my first like consulting business. And in order for me to have any sort of website, I had to pay somebody to do it for me.
Yeah.
And then pay hosting, and it costs a lot of money. And now you can have any website for like, $25-$30 a month and it looks good.
Yeah. You can make a website in Canva now. It's incredible. So sometimes I think we lose perspective on that. I know I do. And then I just think, wow, how cool is it that I can pick up my phone and speak to thousands of people? You know what really drove that home for me was earlier in this year, I was invited to speak in person at a social media event in San Diego called Social Media Marketing World. And I said yes when I was asked to speak because it was a goal of mine. And then the reality set in. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to create a speech. I have to go fly there. I have to go speak. It was very scary. Like I was literally waking up at night being like, oh, okay, right. I have to do this. Okay. So in March, I flew there, so nervous. I get there. It's literally 400 people in the audience. And the moment I stood up on stage, I looked around and it's just like friendly people. And I thought, what was I so worried about? This is wild. And I had a fine time on stage and it just hit me. For months, I stressed about speaking in front of this crowd of 400 people. And yet almost every day leading up to that event, I was emailing a list of 70,000 people. I was posting to an Instagram audience of over 100,000 people. I was sharing YouTube videos with over 100,000 subscribers. Like I had digital access to hundreds of thousands of people, and I was stressed about 400 people. So I just remind myself, this is better. I don't have to travel around to speak to people. I can just use my phone and I can speak to people.
Crazy? It's hilarious too. But you can't edit that when you're live. You can't just rewind it and cut it out.
It's true. My biggest fear was my brain just going blank. Not that that's happened often, but or just tripping on stage. It's all the things that never happen. But when I was in school, I was studying to become a broadcast journalist. And I remember choking on air one day. I was an intern at Chum FM and they asked me a question. I was like, I could not squeak out words. And that encouraged me to try improv for the first time. I went to Second City and did improv for a year. And that was such a cool experience. So if you're someone like me who's a little afraid of using their voice, they get a little stage fright, they freeze, try something that pushes you out of your comfort zone. Maybe it's not business related, but that really helped me using improv. I think I use that skill set every day to this day.
Probably. That's a great idea to be more confident on video. I do drums. I have an electric drum set right next to my desk. I'll bang on those if I'm frustrated.
That's smart.
Okay. It's so cool. I have one last question for you. When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that for you?
Kind of along the lines of what we've just been discussing today. I see it as having total confidence in yourself and having the confidence to speak up in a meeting. Because I know when I worked as a 9-to-5 job, I didn't have that confidence. I was scared. My voice would squeak because I felt like what I had to say wasn't good enough or smart enough for everyone to hear in the room. And it's also the confidence to show up and get your offer back out there, even though the first time you tried to sell it, no one bought. All of these things take really deep confidence, and that's something I've struggled with my whole life, something I've always worked on. I feel like the definition of a wild woman is a woman who's just fully in herself, in her body, in her confidence. She's not worried about what other people are thinking. Because the truth is, we are more concerned with ourselves than anyone else, right? And the moment we can get over that, the moment we realize that we tried to do something scary and it's not going to kill us, like making a video online, you're probably not going to die by doing that. There's power in that, right? There's power in showing up confidently in who you are and sharing what you need to say. And even if you get flack for it, not caring. That's where I want to ultimately go to.
I love it. I love it. So if people are interested in learning more about you, where can they find you online?
All the places, Instagram, Elise Darma, Darma, or YouTube for all my marketing and Instagram tutorials, or elisedarma.com. Let me see if there's anything else we have. Oh, if you're interested in video ideas, since that's what we were talking about, I do have a membership/subscription called On Video. So if you head to onvideo.co, you can check that out and see how you can get weekly ideas sent to your inbox.
That's cool. I actually downloaded something this morning, and it's
cool.
One of the things, it was essentially like a sheet of video ideas for a month, I think. It was very simple.
Oh, the calendar.
Yeah, the calendar. Mm-hmm. You look at it, you're like, well, duh, that's easy.
Now I just have to do it. That's the hard part.
Yeah. Now the hard part, I just got to do it. Well, It has been incredible getting to know you. And thank you so much for sharing all of your secrets today, Elise.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time: the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.